Hi everyone, Daniel here. So today I'll be taking you through our final exam as regards from my DRL Data Analytics school. Today we have the math symbols, which is actually the first place where we started from our training. As you can see, we have different functions here, and also different functions and formula, and also what they perform and how to get their operation. From here, you can see this is a parenthesis, and this is how to get the operation on your laptop, which is shift plus 9 and shift plus 0. That is how you get the opening parenthesis and then the closing parenthesis. However, in many regards, a lot of people call this opening and closing parenthesis, they call it open brackets and closing bracket. However, in real sense, the real name is opening and closing parenthesis. And the usefulness of this formula is to help you bracket a formula or a function that you are typing on Microsoft Excel. We also have the exponent, and this is the symbol, and this is also the way you can, or this the key to get the symbol on your keyboard. We have the multiply number part, we have the divide, which is also you get it from number part. We have the addition, the subtraction, and these are where you get them, which is the number part. We also have the equal sign, which you can also get by pressing the left of backspace. Okay. And then most importantly, like I always tell my students, equal sign is very important in your Microsoft Excel. Before you begin any formula or Microsoft Excel, it has to start with an equal sign. And that's one of the most beginners actually do not get the reason why you have to begin an equal sign in Microsoft Excel, because even in real life, you have to begin an equal sign before you can get an actual value of what you're working with. Without an equal sign, your formula will not produce results on Microsoft Excel. We also have another one which is used in the case of if, where you used to check the equality, and this is the keyboard part to get the key. We also have the greater than or equal sign. We also use it for in the case of equality, and this is how you get the character or the symbol on your key with your laptop keyboard, and it says two characters next to each other. The next one is the less than, shift plus, comma, less than or equal to, then not join, which is greater than, not less than, less than and greater than, not less than and not greater than. Then we also have the join, which is the and symbol, and we call it on Microsoft Excel, we call it the ampersand. And then you get that by pressing the shift plus 7. Now, the first question says, according to the heading above, create a formula that adds, subtract, divide, multiply according to the columns ahead. Now, what this means is that Excel is arranged in two basic way, which is a column and then the rows. Meaning that these are the column, which is vertical from top to bottom, and this is the row from left right side to the right hand side, and that is the row. And like we said, that a cell is the intersection between a row and a column. So if this is a column, if the question says add, divide, multiply according to the column heading. So this is the column heading basically. So it means that what this is actually expecting you to do is to perform an addition here, since the column heading is addition. So to do that, you begin your formula with an equal sign. Then easily you can click on this, then press the shift plus sign, and then press this one alongside and hit your enter. Then it gives you the result. Now this is a sample result to just show you whether you are wrong or you're correct. The next one is subtract, which is equal sign 2 minus 5. Then when you hit your equal sign, you see it is producing the same sample result as what I have here. Now the next one is the divide. So equal sign, this divided by this. When I hit on enter, it gives me the result, which is correct. Then divide again, just to test your skill, this divided by this. Then same way, it produces the result for you. Now let's go on to the multiplication side. Then equal sign, this multiply by this. then our answer is 36, which is actually a correct answer. Now, moving on to the next one, we want to check the equality. Now, I want to check the equality of these two numbers. And if these two numbers are actually the same thing, it is going to return the true symbol. And however, if there's any slight changes or difference between what we have here, between these two numbers, the product would be different. So let's try it. Now, to do your equal sign, to check equality based on what you want to check. If I want to check if something is equal to another thing, you know what to use. Equal sign. This equals to this. It's as simple as that. Meaning that the number here is equals to this. If I also want to check if it is greater than, I can change this to a greater than sign, the equal sign in the middle here, I can change that to a greater than sign. That means, is this greater than this? I could say, is this less than this? I could even say, is this greater than or equal to this value? If the result is true, it will throw out true for you as your feedback. However, if the result is not true, it will throw out false for you. So let's check this out now. So when I hit on enter, you see, it produces true for me. Okay. Now, if there's any slight difference, so I change this to 9, automatically the quality checks and realize that, oh, the number figures has changed. So it automatically rearrange and changes to the result of what you're seeing here. So let's move to the next one. So the next one here, I also want to check if if this value is greater than the value here. So let's check that. If we say equal sign this, then we put the greater than sign and click on this to check the equality or the whether one of them are greater than one another. So when I hit on enter, the result was false, and the reason why is because 11 is not greater than 12. And as you can see from my symbol here, I'm actually checking whether L3, which is actually the cell address or the container of the letter 7, if it is greater than this. However, if I change this to 13, it is still going to it's now throwing true for me, because when you check 13 with 12, you can see that 13 is greater than 12. Okay, now, how about if I change the value now to 12? The value said false. And the reason why is because 12 is actually not greater than 12. Because what our formula is actually checking is if it is actually greater than. And that is what it's checking. So if it is not greater than, it will throw you false. However, to check and also to return the value, if the value are the same, you can say if it is greater than or equal to, then you get your result. So it means that it is not greater than, it is only equal. So it checks within those parameters and return the value as I checked for you. Okay. So that is that about the math symbols. Now let's move to the next one, which is the text function. Now, what is text function on Microsoft Excel? In many occasions, the idea of text function is just to help us is part of the way that, it's part of the methodology or the way that we use to clean our data on Microsoft Excel. It helps us to bring out and to model our data in a cleaner way. That's why we have text to function. And some of the function text to text function, and some of the text function we'll be exploring in this case, you will realize that you will realize what they do and how you can make use of them. Okay. So the question two said that convert the text in the data to the heading in the column. That means convert the data here into any of this. So the first one you want to do is a trim function. And what does the trim function does? The trim function trim excess spaces out of your text or your data on Microsoft Excel. As you can see what I have here, this is Abbas Mohammed. And based on the information that I have here, you realize that there's there's so much space between Abbas and Muhammad. So checking this right here, you realize that there are also a lot of spaces behind it. And one of the way you can get rid of that is using is using the trim function to eliminate the extra spaces just as once on all of your data on Microsoft Excel. So let's call that out. So we say equal sign, trim. Then when you click on the text, then you close parentheses and hit enter. Immediately you hit enter, it automatically clears out all the spaces And as you can see here, you see that all the spaces are actually cleared out. Okay. So that's one of the amazing things you can also do on Microsoft Excel with the trim function. Now, even using the trim function, however, the result is here, and this is actually what I want. But based on what I have on the formula tab here, the result is still showing me as a formula, even though in real time I'm still seeing my figure and my result here. However, from what you can see here, it is still showing the formula. To get rid of this formula and actually have, now one of the limitation of this formula is because if the source data where you're trimming from is deleted, the data or the reference file automatically wipes out. Okay, so one of the way to ensure that this data does not wipe out is to copy this out and then come back to the top again and right click, then paste it as values. Okay, so immediately you paste as values, you get your result in real time, just as you can see here, right? You get your result in real time, just as you can see here, and the result is here. And in that way, if I get rid of this, I still have this in return, and it is clean with no extra spaces. Okay. So the next thing we also want to look at in this line is the length function. Now the length function is just a short form of length. And what it does is that it checks the length of your text on Microsoft Excel. It checks the length of your text on Microsoft Excel. So assuming I have this Abbas Muhammad, and in most cases, one of the things that they use the length functions to check is to check the number of character. Most time they use it to confirm the the number of account numbers inserted. As you know, the total the number of the number the digit the number digit of an account number is actually 10. So if the digit is greater than 10, it means that it needs to be checked and looked into. However, if the digit is also less than 10, it also means that it needs to be checked and looked into. But when I use the length function and it checks the digits, if the digit is 10, I want to assume that the party has actually provided a correct account number. They also use it to check a phone number. They use it to check the length of a phone number and return the result if the length is consistent. Okay. So to do that, let's go ahead and check the length function. So from here, I press my equal sign and say length. You see that the comment here says that returns the number of character in a text string. So the argument says choose whichever data you want to check the length. So when I choose that and I count the length, it automatically counts the numbers of data that I have, including the space between each words. Okay. So from here, you can see Abbas Mohammed. The total number of Abbas Mohammed word is 14, and that is what this is counting. Okay. The next one is the uppercase function. The uppercase function, as the name implies, automatically convert any text letter that is not in uppercase. It automatically converts it into an uppercase, whether a proper case, whether a lowercase, whether an abnormal case. It automatically converts the text into an uppercase. And to do that, just like we have been doing, you press your equal sign and you call the function name, which is the uppercase. And as you can see the comment here, it said convert a text string to all uppercase. So when I hit on the text string, the only argument that is needed here is just the text, which is this. So I'm going to choose this, close parentheses, and hit enter. Immediately I hit enter, you can see that my data on the uppercase column now looks a little bit more clearer, more than what I have here, which is A capital letter A, small letter B, capital letter B, and capital letter A. It is irregular. However, based on what I have here, this is quite correct, and it reflects the actual thing that I want, which is the uppercase. Now, another part is also the lower case. You might also want to use, in the case where you're working, you might actually want to convert the text that you're working with into a lowercase format. And that's why we have the lowercase function. So from here, I'm going to call equal sign. I'm going to call the lowercase function. And the comment says convert all text in a text string to a lowercase, meaning a smaller letter. So the next argument here is actually the text. So I'm going to pick the data inside the trim, close parentheses, and hit enter. Immediately I hit enter, you see, it automatically converts every information that I have here into lowercase. And that is amazing. So the next one is the proper. Now, in this case of proper, the idea of proper is to help you begin the first word, the first letter of your word. It allows you to start with a capital letter. So let's try that and see what it does. Equal sign, proper, and then the argument set text. So we're going to just select the text, close parentheses, and hit enter. And you can see this is one of the way a lot of individuals actually represent their data on Microsoft Excel, which is the best way, and it also makes your data cleaner and amazing. All right. So just like we did under the trim function here, when I click on this proper and you check the formula bar, it's actually showing the formula, meaning that I cannot perform the next argument because this is showing that this is actually not a whole text. This is a reference text, okay? And that's why we have the formula. And to make it a whole text, all I need to just do is to copy it, then paste it as values just from where I copied it from. So paste as values. And immediately I paste as value, if you check the formula bar, this formula is now showing that it is not referencing any other cell. It is just a standalone. So no matter any cell I delete here, the data inside the proper case will still remain the same. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. So the next one we'll look at is also part of the text function, but in this case, you have to use a button to perform it. The next that thing is text to column. We refers to it as text to column. Text to column, like the name implies, allows you to separate text into column. So imagine I work in an organization where I am giving a full name of my employee. Probably, let me just maybe close to 200 names, and I'm meant to separate them. It will take me a lot of time to start typing Abbas and Muhammad, then the other name, which is actually the thing that so many other people do in the organization, because they do not have the idea that text to column can actually help you to get this done in minutes. And how to do that, you highlight all of your text and then come to the data tab. When you click on the data tab here, you go to data tools. Now under the data tool, you see this giant icon called text to column. When you select the text to column, it automatically brings you here. Now there is text to column fixed to width and there is text to column delimited. Now the delimited in this case means that your data has to have a separator, meaning that what separates the data that you're working with. And in this case, let's click on next. And as you can see, it's saying these are delimiters. So a tab can be a delimiter, a semicolon can be a delimiter, a comma can be a delimiter, and also a space bar can also be a delimiter. The option for the order is to specify whatever is not listed here, whichever the delimiter might be. Now, in this case, based on the information that we have, what separates the first name from the last name is just the space bar, right? So what I'm going to pick is just the space bar. And under the data preview here, as you can see, it automatically separate my data based on the space bar that separates. So it checks the space bar, and any data that there are spaces in between them, it separate them into different columns. So to do that, I'm going to click on next. And then the next question it's asking me is the destination. So from here, I'm just going to pick on my destination to be this. So you start from this and split it across. Okay. So once that is done, I select finish, and you see my data has been splitted into separate columns while still retaining the original data. So you see this is Abbas Mohammed here and this is Mohammed. And if you check all through my data here, it is actually replicating the actual results that I want. Okay. So that is that about text to column. If you have any question, you can drop it in the comment below or send me a direct message through my email address. Now the next one here is Abbas Muhammad, is what we call concatenate. Now, like the name implies, you can see that we have joined. Another thing we can also do is that if we are giving a separate name, as you can see here, we can also join them together. So this is actually a joint name. However, if we do not have this joint name and the only information we have is just the first name and the last name and the other name, we can and however, we also need a full name. One of the things we can do is we use the concatenate functions to join text together. So from here, you press your equal sign and then you call the function name, which is this, and then the comment says join several text string into one text string. So when I hit the tab sign, the first argument is text one. So when I select the text one, I separate it with a comma, and then the next argument is text two. Then once I'm done selecting the text two, I select the next one. Okay. So once I'm done with that, I'll close my parentheses and hit enter. Immediately I hit enter, I realize that all my data are joined. But despite the fact that they are joined together without no separation or no space bar in between the text. One of the things that I could do to do that is to automatically add it into the equation or into the formula that I have. And the best way to do that is to look at the data that you have, and then after the comma that separates the first name and the last name, you put a quotation mark there, and in between the quotation mark, a double quotation mark, and in between the quotation mark, you put a space bar, then you repeat the quotation mark and you put a comma. So meaning that you are putting a space bar and quotation mark is actually guarding the space bar that you have put. So we repeat the same thing for the last name, for the comma after the last name. So we repeat the same thing, space bar, then a comma. So once I'm done with that and I hit enter, you see, the result automatically checks and ensure that the next data that I have here actually shows a space bar. Okay, so that is it about the math symbols and then the text function. If you have any question, you can drop into the comment box and be sure that I would attend to all those questions, and I will also create clarity into your questions and your report. Now, you also want to join Ideal Data Analytics School. We have our monthly cohort where we bring students together to train them on data analytics. If you want to join, you can reach me through my email address and I will be glad to attend to you. If you also want me to do any future video as regards Microsoft Excel or any software tools, I would also be glad to help you do that software video and upload it. Check me out and drop a message for me on my email address. Thank you. My name is Daniel.